Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with coverage of round 8 of the 2018 Candidates Tournament. We are past the halfway mark. The pairings from round 8 were the same as from round 1, but with opposite colors, which means that the players from the same country are playing against each other again. This was done on purpose to make sure that players from the same country do not play each other in the final rounds, to avoid any suspicion of players from the same country helping each other. So in this round we see the All-Russia clash Grishuk-Kramnik, Mamedyarov-Karyakin, Ding-Aronyan, and the USA clash So against Caruana. I'll give you the results at the end of the video, but we're first going to look at the game between Wesley So with white and Fabiano Caruana, our tournament leader, with black. So far they have played 19 games against each other, 14 of those were draws. So won 2 and Caruana has won 3. Here you see both players at the board during their game. Let's have a look at it. Played on the 19th of March 2018 and Wesley So opened with e4, e5 from Caruana, knight f3, knight f6, the Petrov defense, the Russian defense. Caruana had also played this in round 4 as black against Vladimir Kramnik. You can find that game on the Chess to Impress YouTube channel. A very exciting game. Please check it out if you haven't seen the video yet. Knight takes e5, d6 kicking the knight back, knight f3, knight takes e4, winning the pawn back, queen e2, the same variation as Vladimir Kramnik played against Caruana in round 4. Queen e7 only move, d3 kicking the knight back, knight f6, knight c3, queen takes, and bishop takes, so a very early queen swap on the 8th move. Caruana said in the press conference afterwards that he was surprised by white's opening choice, as he got a very comfortable position from the opening. He deviated from the game with Kramnik by playing g6 at this stage, but he had played this move before in a game against Magnus Carlsen, so Wesley So must have expected and prepared this move. He played bishop g5, attacking the knight. Bishop g7 protects that knight, and So castled queenside. Caruana castled kingside. Rook hg1 developing his rook. h6 kicking the bishop, and that bishop went to h4. And So said in a press conference that he regretted playing this move as the bishop is not good on the h4 square. He would have preferred another move with that bishop. Knight c6 from Caruana, d4, a6, and now Wesley So played a clever move according to Caruana. He played a3, and Caruana explained what he meant by that. Why was this such a clever move? Well, he showed this variation. After a6, white can play d5 because there's a little tactic in the position. And if the knight goes to e7, then white has the tactical shot bishop takes a6, putting that bishop on prise there, but taking a pawn. And now this rook is attacking the knight. But after knight e takes d5, knight takes d5, knight takes d5, bishop back to f1, the position is fine for black. And with the move a3, Wesley So gives Caruana a move, but as Caruana said, it was hard to find the right move to make. In the end he decided on bishop d7, wanting to connect his rooks. The rooks are now connected. That's something that black has achieved, something small. But now d5 does work. Because if now you go to e7 with the knight, as in the previous variation, then bishop takes a6 is good for white. If we look at the variation, knight e takes d5, like in the previous variation, knight takes, then white can take on b7. Because that pawn is now unprotected, because the bishop is on c8 and is not on c8, is now on d7. And this is good for white. This is a very good position. So all this is very, very subtle. A3 was played to give Caruana the move. And after bishop d7, d5, the knight could not go to e7 as we just saw. And Caruana had to put his knight on a more awkward square on a7. But he said he still liked his position, so it was not a big deal. But quite a nice subtlety there from white. Knight d4, played by Wesley So. Knight c8. And here Wesley So said that f3 would have been a better move to have the f2 square available for his badly positioned bishop. But he did not play f3, he played knight b3. g5, kicking the bishop. Bishop back. Rook e8. Knight a5. Attacking the pawn on b7. b5 from Caruana. Now f3. Knight h5, attacking the bishop. Bishop stepped back to f2. It could have gone there in one move, of course, if Wesley So had played f3 before. Knight f4, attacking the bishop on e2. And the pawn on g2, so Wesley So played bishop f1. And here Caruana could have won a pawn. The players show this variation. Rook takes e1, bishop takes knight b6, putting pressure on this pawn. g3, kicking the knight, but black first takes on c3, bishop takes, and then takes on d5. And after bishop d4, Caruana said, here it's black who won a pawn, but I thought white would have enough compensation here, and it's also difficult to play with black. I did not really want to give up my bishop pair. So instead of taking on e1 with that variation that we just saw, Caruana played knight b6. And now it is white, Wesley So, who can win a pawn. He took on e8, rook takes back, bishop takes b6, c takes b6, and knight b7, attacking the d6 pawn. Caruana said white had to go for this as otherwise he's worse, but it's also very risky for white as the knight gets trapped, as we'll see in the game. Bishop e5 was played by Caruana. Knight e4, attacking the d6 pawn for a second time. Rook b8, and knight e takes d6. White wins a pawn. Caruana said, now I got very excited as I saw the following knight maneuver and I was happy. So white has won a pawn, but his knights are stuck deep in the enemy camp, protecting each other, and the next few moves are all around black trying to round up those knights and winning material. Knight g6 from Caruana, g3, knight e7, and here Caruana said he was expecting c4. Then he would have played knight f5, a very nice knight regrouping. That's the root of that knight in the last three moves. And then c5, Caruana said this saves the knights but leads to an awful position for white. Black gets the bishop pair, and he showed these moves. Knight takes d6, knight takes, b takes c5, knight e4 saving the knight, and then rook c8. And black starts to push white back with c4, said Caruana. This is a good position for black. So all this after knight e7 and then c4, which was expected by Caruana, but Wesley So found a better move. He played a4. And also Grandmaster Peter Svidler in the live broadcast really liked this move and the idea behind it. Let's see what happened. Caruana said his first intention was now knight c8. And then after knight takes, and you have to take back with the rook, because if you take with the bishop, the white knight escapes through the d8 square. That would be good for white. So after knight takes c8, you take back with the rook, and then a takes b5, a takes b5, d6, rook b8, and then bishop g2. Caruana said the knight on b7 is completely trapped, but actually quite useful. For starters, you cannot take that knight. If you take it, then there is f4 with a double attack on the bishop and on the rook. Bishop takes f4 check, g takes f4, rook a7, and white is doing fine. So all this after a4 and then Caruana's first intention with knight c8, but he decided to play knight f5 instead. That was a better move. He's now threatening to win a piece. That knight is attacked twice and only defended once. Knight takes f5, bishop takes f5, and now this b7 knight is trapped. Rook e1, counter-attacking the bishop, and f6 to protect that bishop. Caruana said, here I'm playing without any risk of losing. White has now got to give up material. Rook takes e5, it is forced. White has to save his knight, so he gives an exchange. That's better than giving a piece. F takes e5, and the knight can now go back to d6. Bishop d7, a takes b5, and here Caruana said that he thought of a5 as well. He did not play it. He said it's an interesting option. I'm blocking white's pawns on the queen side, and I will bring my king in, but I couldn't evaluate the position properly. They showed these moves: bishop d3, king g7, king d2, and king f6. So this was an option, but Caruana decided not to go for it. After a takes b5, he took back on b5. More material went off the board. Bishop takes b5, bishop takes, and knight takes. Rook f8, king d2, and black takes another pawn. Rook takes f3. White only has one pawn for the exchange, but Caruana said, I didn't feel I had many winning chances here. Wesley So was asked the question, what was your estimation of this position? And So said, I had nothing to lose, because if I lose, it is good for the USA. He played king e2. Only one pawn for the exchange, as I said, but White's queenside pawns are very strong. 3 of those. In the live broadcast on Chess24, Grandmaster Svidler thought for a moment that White actually might even have winning chances here. g4 played by Caruana. Knight d6, h5, knight c4, b5, so took on e5, rook f5, knight g6, king f7, knight f4, and h4. Here Caruana expected So to play king e3, and then there's 2 options for black. Rook e5 check is an option, king d4, rook e1. I'm giving the moves that were shown by Caruana and So in the press conference after the game. G takes h4, rook h1, knight d3, rook takes h2, knight e5 check, king e7, and the point is that you do not win this pawn. White does not win the pawn on g4, because if you take it, there is rook takes h4. With a skewer, you're going to lose the knight and the game. So after king e3, rook e5 check was one of the options. We just saw one variation of that after that move. Another option is to play h3, which was recommended in the live broadcast on the different chess sites. Black's idea is to get this rook somehow to the 2nd rank, and then White will be in big trouble. The knight is not a very good defender of pawns on the side of the board, and this pawn on h3 is already so far advanced that black would have great winning chances after this move. But after h4, Wesley So did not play king e3 at all. He played knight g2, and Caruana said, this move completely shocked me. He had completely missed that move, and it's a very good move. Of course, So is threatening just to take that pawn. So Caruana took on g3, h takes, rook f3, knight e3, rook takes pawn, c4, white is playing up his queenside pawns, b takes, d6, king e6, knight takes pawn, protecting his d6 pawn, and Caruana said he could not see any ideas on how to win here. He played rook f3, d7, and you have to be careful, you cannot take that pawn, because if you do, there is knight e5 check, winning the exchange back. So after d7, rook f8 was played to control the d-pawn, knight e3 from So, attacking the g-pawn, g3, d8 queen to distract the rook so that the king can get closer to the g-pawn, rook takes d8, king f3, rook d3, and king f4. It turns out that even without the white b-pawn, this pawn, the position is drawn, and it was already shown in 1924 in a game of former world champion Emanuel Lasker against his namesake Edward Lasker. It was played in the 6th round of the tournament in New York on the 23rd of March 1924, and this is the position after the 93rd move, knight a4 to b2 from Emanuel Lasker, and 10 moves later this game was drawn. The former world champion showed how to defend this position. White has a fortress. So this is a position with a b-pawn, but of course that is the same thing at the other side of the board with the g-pawn. 94 years ago, the former world champion Emanuel Lasker already showed how to defend this position. Back to 2018, so without that b-pawn the position should be drawn, so with the b-pawn it's definitely a position that white should be able to hold. Caruana played rook b3, knight g2, king d5, knight h4, king c4, king g4, rook d3, white pushed up his b-pawn, rook b3, b5, king d5, Caruana does not want to take the pawn yet, b6, king e4, b7, now you have to take it, but that means that you're going to lose your g-pawn. Caruana had resigned himself to a draw here. Rook takes, king takes, rook g7 check, king f2, rook g4, knight g2, and at this level rook versus knight is an easy draw for the player who's down material, and instead of playing on, Caruana decided to take the knight. Wesley So took back, and we had 2 bare kings on the board. In the press conference, Caruana was asked, why did you not torture your opponent for many moves? Caruana's answer was, who am I torturing? I might be torturing myself. And he said when this rook versus knight endgame arose, the knight was in a good starting position, and then it's very easy to defend. So a draw after 65 moves between the 2 Americans, which means Fabiano Caruana consolidated his position on top of the standings. A picture from the players in the press conference after the game. In the middle is Women Grandmaster Anastasia Karlovic, the FIDE press officer, and many of the comments that were made by the players in this press conference I used for this video. The results of round 8. Alexander Grishuk beat Vladimir Kramnik, and the other 3 games were drawn. Mamedyarov, Karyakin, Ding, Aronian, and we saw the game between So and Caruana. So not many changes in the standings. Of course, Grishuk has done a good job. He is now in 3rd position. Caruana still on top by himself. Half a point behind is Mamedyarov, then Grishuk, and Ding Liren made his 8th draw in 8 games in this tournament. Kramnik started with 2.5 out of 3, but he's now on -1. Karyakin is also -1, and Aronian and So are both on 3 points out of 8 games. Round 9 will be played on Tuesday, March 20th, and we'll see Wesley So with the white pieces again. This time he play Alexander Grishuk. Caruana against Ding, Aronian against Mamedyarov, and Karyakin, Kramnik, another Russian encounter. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel, and please leave a comment. You also may want to check out my Chess to Progress channel. The link is in the description box. This is Rick from Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.